Hey, what's up? This is PRP3 The Author. I want to talk to you about fantasy football drafts for beginners. Now, this isn't for the players who've been playing for years, who know what they're doing, know how to draft. This is not going to help you. You already know what to do. You're not going to find any new information here. This is for people who never played, who have no clue how to go about it, who feel intimidated about starting because they know they're going to do horribly. They might feel like shy with playing with their friends because they know that they're going to be humiliated because they have no clue what's going on and they don't want to play because of that. Well, I want to be able to help people get past that and foster a love of playing fantasy football, because when I first started, I had a horrible time. I came in 9th and then 8th the first 2 seasons, and I didn't have fun at all. I didn't like it. But then it finally clicked, like around the third year I played, and I started actually researching and thinking about things, and I started winning leagues. So now it's a great time for me. So now that you're here and you know that you want to play, now you need to know what platform to play on. Now there are several different websites. There's 4 main ones: ESPN.com, NFL.com, CBS Sports, Yahoo Sports. There are a couple other ones that I don't play on. Those 4 are the only ones I've ever drafted on. I would say pick one and then kind of learn which one you like. Go on it, see what kind of scoring each one has, see what kind of roster positions, available slots for starting the lineup, see what everyone has, because every platform is different. Some might score different, some might allow a certain number of wide receivers. One might say 3, one might say 2. One might say you can only have a certain type of player in flex. One might let you put a quarterback in flex. So just check out the different platforms. Once you figure out which one that works best for you, then you can start looking at players and doing research, because you can't be a homer when you play fantasy football. I was a homer. I was only rooting for the home team. I only knew a certain amount of players on my team, my favorite team. So when I was drafting, I was looking for those guys, but it didn't help me at all, because yeah, they were a good team, but fantasy football is more of an individual player sport where you need a quarterback who's going to get a lot of points. You need a wide receiver who's going to get a lot of points. NFL plays team sports, which is good for them, but for fantasy football, you want an individual who is really good, despite if their team is bad or not. So you need to know beyond what's on your team. You need to know if you want a running back. You need to know what other running backs are in this. Who are other running backs in the league? Which team has great running backs? Who is a run-heavy team that has a running back you should be drafting? Which team is pass-heavy? That's the wide receiver you should be going for. Maybe their second wide receiver as well. What team focuses on the tight end in the red zone, looking for quarterback passing to them to catch touchdowns? You need to find out which team has a great quarterback who's more than just a game manager, who can actually throw down the field, who can scramble and make touchdowns and whatnot. So when you're doing your research, write all these guys down. Write down who is playing on what team. Or maybe you don't need to know the teams, but just know who is more beneficial for you to draft. If you want a running back, write down running backs who are on teams who focus on the run. Same thing with wide receivers, same thing with quarterbacks and tight ends. You also have to look at what happened in the offseason. Did everyone return to the team? Does that running back you're looking at have the same offensive line? Because if they don't have the same offensive lineman, it could create problems. There might not be a good chemistry yet, so they might have a problem opening up running lanes for your running back. Was there any changes in the coaching staff, the head coach, the offensive coordinator? They may have benefited. The running back may have benefited from the prior offensive coach's scheme, but the new offensive coach or new offensive coordinator might come in and change everything up and focus on the pass, which will hurt your running back, the guy you're looking at getting. So look at that. If there's a new head coach, is a head coach more focused on defense, or is he focused on wide receiving, or is he focused on the run game? And after you figure that out, that'll help you compile a list of who you want to get. Also, if you identify a player you like, look at their schedule and who they play against in the season, because you need to know if he's going to have a good, easy season or if he's going to have a hard season where he's playing teams that they stuff the box, they don't let you run. Then that running back is not going to be a great running back to get. Or maybe they had changes in some of their teams where your running back is going to find those running lanes and break through those holes and score. Like, what if you're looking at a wide receiver? Look at his opponents for the season. Are they good against the pass? Do they have good secondary? Do they have good cornerbacks? So if they don't, that might be a wide receiver you focus on. So you need to know stuff like that. Also, you need to know if that player you're getting is returning to his team or if he's going to a new team as a free agent. Because there have been times where like a running back or a tight end was on a team that focused on them. They get put on a new team. Let's say a tight end who went from being a receiving star on one team could end up as a blocking tight end on a new team because they focus on the run instead of the pass. So he needs to block against the pass rush or block against the rush when they're trying to stop the run. So he won't get any receptions, and it's going to be hard for you because you thought you were drafting a star for cheap, and it ends up being you're drafting someone who's not going to get many points. Same thing with wide receivers. They might be great on the prior team with a great quarterback, but they might go to a team where the quarterback is a game manager and he's only checking down 10 yards at a time and focusing on the run. Then what's going to happen to your wide receiver? His stat line is going to go way down, and you're not going to get many points during the season with that person. So research all this will help you create a good list of players to draft to put you in the top tier of your league. Now, don't rely on star power names, real big names, because a lot of those guys, they may have had a good run the previous 5 years, 4 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, but there is a point where people start losing a pep in their step. It might be a running back who's been in the league for 10 years. That running back is not going to produce the same amount of yardage that they've had in the past. They might even be drafting, the team might even be drafting a rookie running back, and they might be looking to use that running back that you drafted as like a mentor to help develop that rookie running back into the starter. So, star power, big names aren't always the best people to draft, especially if they've moved around in their free agency or they've had changes in their teams. The name alone is not going to get you points. You have to know what kind of situation they're going into. Like I like a certain quarterback, and they don't ever draft a quarterback to back them up. So that quarterback is, even though he's been in the league for 20 million years, he's gonna be the starter, getting all the points, throwing the ball everywhere. Now you might get other quarterbacks who've only been in the league for 3, 4, or 5 years, and they're already got a quarterback nipping at their heels, and you don't know if the quarterback you draft is going to stay in the starting position pretty soon, even though they're the star, because there's always an up and coming star behind them. One thing beginners I want to advise against is don't shy away from rookies. A lot of beginners won't draft rookies because they don't trust them. They haven't played in the league yet. They're only looking for those big names because those are the only names they know. They don't follow the college season. They didn't watch the draft, so they don't know who's coming up. I say look at the draft class, look at the rookies, look at the teams that they're being drafted on. If they're drafting a rookie who did great in college, he was in one of the most elite leagues in college, and now he is coming up, or one of the most elite divisions in college. Now he's coming up to a team that's run heavy and they just lost their running back. He might be someone you need to focus on. Now, if they're drafting a rookie who did well in college, did great, but they have a great running back already on the team, well, then that rookie might not be someone you want to draft. And it's a gamble. It's a hit or miss because some rookies look great on paper and they might come to the league and flop. They might come to the league and do average. They might come to the league and do great. So, it's not a reason to avoid them though, just because they are a rookie, because you don't want to be that person who skips over a rookie and goes for a veteran guy who's been there for 10 years. That guy gets hurt, And then you're looking at this rookie who's getting 30, 40 points a game with your opponents, and you're going to feel silly because you passed up on him. So after that, you want to look at other players who might give beginners, kind of a doubt in their minds about if they should draft him or not. And what I mean by that is there are some players that are going to be already injured or maybe even suspended. And some beginners will say, I'm not touching that person. He's suspended. He's missing the first 4 games. So that means I'm going to lose my first 4 games. So I'm not going to get him. I'm going to draft someone else who's a lower tier, but at least they'll play their first 4 games and they'll be able to play the rest of the games in the season. What I'd say to that is don't shy away from that suspended player, because you don't know if that player last year is coming back to the same team, and last year he did great. He was averaging 20 points a game consistently. I would say don't write off the long term for the short term, because yeah, it'll pay off having that guy who can get you, lower tier guy who can get you 10 points a game, but 10 points a game is not going to get you into the playoffs. With your top running back, 20 points is going to get you into the playoffs, and 20 points a game consistently is what's going to win you the playoffs and win you the championship game. Because when you're sitting there fighting for first place, do you want to have your top tier running back be the guy who only gets you 10 points, or the top tier guy who gets you 20 points? So don't worry about if they're suspended. Don't shy away from that. Also, injuries. I would say the only injury you should be too worried about is high ankle sprains in the preseason, because those ones last a long time and they usually re-injure those ankles. But if someone was out last season with the ACL tear, knee injury, those guys usually hit the ground running when they come back, and they're a fresh pair of legs, and they do great. Even though they were injured the season before, they do great the season they get picked up or they pick back up at. So don't avoid injured players either, because you might lose the first 4 games or a game or 2, but that's all right. You don't need to have an undefeated record or an 18-0 record to win the championship. You can have 3 or 4 losses and still win. And don't worry about bye weeks. A lot of players will sit there and worry, like, okay, I'm not going to draft this running back because he has the same bye week as my quarterback, or I'm not going to draft this wide receiver because my other wide receiver has the same bye week as him. That is silly. I did the same thing when I first started playing. I was like, I thought I was being slick. I was like, okay, I won't draft these guys because the bye weeks will be incompatible, and I don't want to have too many bye weeks in 1 week. But then I realized after I was passing up top tier guys, really good players, that I would rather lose 1 week because everyone's on a bye week that week, instead of passing over great players and picking up lower tier ones and not even making it into the playoffs. I'm fighting for 7th place in the constellation bracket because I thought that I was doing something good with my bye weeks, but I was not. So don't worry about bye weeks. You're gonna have bye weeks no matter what. I would rather there's so many. I would rather lose a week because I have too many buys than worry about anything. Buys are gonna be there. Just take them as they are. That's why you have a bench. You can pull people off your bench and put them in there for those weeks that your starters aren't playing. So bye weeks shouldn't even be any kind of consideration when you're drafting. Now, when you are drafting, don't worry about draft number, because you're going to be automatically assigned a draft order number. You can be first, you can be 5th, you can be 10th. It doesn't matter what number you are, because if you're 10th, you're going to miss out on a couple top tier players, but there's still going to be a top tier player left. You're going to still get a great wide receiver or a great running back. Plus, these platforms do snaking drafts, where if you're number 1 in the first round, you're number 10 in the second round. That means you have to wait for 9 people to draft, and then you have to wait for those 9 people again to draft before you get your second pick. So don't worry about whatever number you are. Just have your list ready of who you want to draft, and make sure you're checking them off as they're coming off the board, and you'll be all right. So, but what a lot of people worry about is which position to draft first. I run into people who draft quarterbacks first because they say, oh, the quarterback has a lot of points. That quarterback has won Super Bowls in the past. They can get me, 20, 30 points a game. I want a top-notch quarterback right away. I don't want anybody else to have that quarterback. That's my quarterback. Now, what I say to that is when you get the quarterback first, now you're pushing your wide receiver and your running back to lower rounds. So you're getting a second-notch wide receiver in the second round, and then your running back is going to be a third-notch running back, and you're picking them up in the third round. So you're hurting in those positions. And quarterback is only one starting position in your lineup, and you need 3 wide receivers at least and 2 running backs at least. So if you're focusing on getting a great quarterback first, you're suffering with the rest of the points that you can be collecting with your better wide receivers. So the way I like to compare it is an elite quarterback is going to average just a little bit more points than an average quarterback. And the difference is you can get an average quarterback in the later round and get better wide receivers and running backs in earlier rounds, and you will score more points consistently over time than if you would have gotten that first round quarterback and then gotten mid-tier level wide receivers and running backs in the later rounds. So don't go quarterback first. You may be tempted to. You don't want someone. You want that specific quarterback. You'll be all right without them. Those 2 or 3 points more they average over the quarterback you're going to get in the 7th, 8th round is not going to put you over the top. The points you get from your wide receivers are going to put you over the top. They're going to put having a great wide receiver and a great running back is what's going to put you in the playoffs and win your championship. So definitely don't get a tight end first. A lot of people would try. They see that one tight end is like really great. He can get like 2 touchdowns a game. But like I said, that pushes your wide receivers down, and you can only have 1 tight end in your starting position unless you're allowed to put one in your flex. And that means you have 3 wide receiver positions and 2 running back positions who are also hurting because you're getting lower tier guys to fill those positions later on. So, and if you may have noticed that I've mentioned running backs a lot because I favor that position. But in fantasy, I favor wide receivers because you need more of them, and you need more that can get more points for you than you need running backs. I would say you need 1 great running back and 2 great wide receivers, basically. So don't draft running back, and then start worrying about your wide receivers, because by that point, that's 20 players off the board, and then you're starting to look at like, okay, well, what wide receiver can I get? Oh, I'm getting the third running wide receiver from a team that doesn't throw the ball that much, and you don't want to be in that position. So what I like to do is I like to draft a wide receiver, a running back, a wide receiver, a running back, and a wide receiver. And at that point, I might get a quarterback, but I'm usually shoring up my bench, or drafting another wide receiver or running back for my flex. And then I shore up my bench a little bit. Then I get the quarterback and the tight end, because I believe those are, pretty much all your tight ends average pretty much the same. Quarterbacks average pretty much the same. Kicker and defense I usually get later on in the draft, towards the end. Not at the very end, the last 2 rounds, but a couple rounds before that. Just because I don't think they're going to give you that many points. They're not going to put you in the playoffs having the best defense or the best kicker. It's the best, wide receiver and running backs. That's what's going to win you. So just have your draft order set up with running back or wide receiver, running back, and have those guys you want in those slotted for those positions, and you'll do fine. You'll have a good draft, because you need to be prepared. The best thing you can do is prepare for the draft. That way, you won't look like one of those rookies who start playing and make the worst decisions like I did. If you're prepared, you can break into the playoffs. You can be one of the top 4 teams. You can come in 3rd, 2nd, or even 1st, because no one might be expecting much out of you. They might expect you to be like that instant W, like, oh, I'm going up against this rookie. That's an instant win. I'm going to chalk it off. But if you draft great players and you know how to play those players, when to put them in, when not to put them in, depending on who they're playing in that week, you can end up being first place with the trophy, surprising all your friends. So the best thing you can do is prepare. And let me know if this video helped you at all. Like if you had a draft after watching this video, and if you ended up having a great team, and other people are like, "Oh, that's a great team," you're gonna be a team to look out for, watch out for, and all that. Let me know. Let me know if you play the season and you do well, you break into the playoffs, and you'd never expected to because you had no clue what you're doing. But then you watch this video, and it kind of give you a better idea of how to draft. Tell me, because that's what I'm trying to do here, is just trying to help people, and I want to know how I help someone. Now, I'm not going to tell you who to draft, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be easy to pick, a star from a stud. A star from a dud, because one year someone might just be having a bad year. You never know. A team might just not produce much. They just might not be as great as they were last year. You can't help it. You can't help if a player, is just not feeling it that year. They're coming off a contract year. They got the contract they want. They might not be running as hard as they want. Who knows? Maybe they want to get a better draft pick the next year. You don't know if people aren't trying as hard so they can get the next higher level draft pick. So you can't never tell who's gonna be great based on the year before or the year prior. So if anybody tells you, "Oh, you should draft this person because he's a star," it's going to be a hit or miss. It's going to be a gamble. So, like I said, I won't tell you who to draft. I will just tell you how to draft, and hopefully you can make that decision for yourself, and that'll be beneficial. And I guess it might even feel better that you're the one doing it and picking those players without being told which player to draft, because it'll probably give you more of a sense of accomplishment if you do win your league. So if you win your league, let everyone know that I helped you out and, give you some great tips, because I want to be able to help people. That's where that's why I'm online, is I want to create entertainment to keep people, busy and pass time. And I want to help people be entertained and helped. That's all I want to do. So let me know. And when you're done, like and subscribe. And check out my other videos, because I have some pretty informative stuff. I have a whole bunch of different type of content that you might find enjoyable. So thank you.